I'm Poppy Harlow in for Carol Costello today. Thanks for joining me. 24 hours after picking a fight with Boeing, President-elect Donald Trump is defending a tweet slamming the cost of building the next Air Force One.
I think the planes are too expensive. I spoke to a very good man yesterday, the head of Boeing, terrific guy, and we're going to work it out. But, you know, that's what I'm here for. I'm going to negotiate prices, and the planes are too expensive, and we're going to get the prices down. And if we don't get the prices down, we're not going to order them. We're going to stay with what we have.
This is the latest shot fired in Trump's public battle with companies he feels are taking advantage of American taxpayers. We saw it when Trump hammered out a deal with Carrier to keep hundreds of jobs from going to Mexico. Trump is also claiming credit for a $50 billion U.S. investment by Japanese tech giant SoftBank, tweeting yesterday, Masa SoftBank of Japan has agreed to invest $50 billion in the United States towards businesses and 50,000 new jobs. He went on to say that Masa said he would never have done this had we, Trump, not won the election. For more on this, I'm joined by CNN political commentator and columnist for the Daily Beast, Sally Kohn, and CNN political commentator and conservative, Ben Ferguson. All right, guys, something tells me you're not on the same page on this one. Good morning, Ben. Let me begin with you. I mean, come on, you're a Republican, you're a conservative. You guys don't like the idea of the government picking winners and losers. You don't like it at all. And what's interesting is that Keith Hennessy, the director of the National Economic Council under former President George W. Bush, is quoted this morning in the Washington Post saying, quote, "A politician rewards his friends and business friends and punishes his business enemies. It is called crony capitalism." Ben, you say?
Yeah, I think it's sour grapes from someone that didn't want Donald Trump to become president, and they're doing everything they can to try to, undermine or act as if everything he does is terrible. Let's just look at the Boeing deal for one moment. This should be bipartisan. Every American, in theory, pays taxes. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, having a president that says, I'm not going to take delivery of a new airplane that I get to use that's specifically made for me if it costs too much should be something that we should all be excited about. That's called responsibility. And what he said was, as a businessman, I'm not going to allow your tax dollars to be taken advantage of by price overruns. We know that the Government Accountability Office has already warned us as of last year that this contract was going to be more than what they'd budgeted for, which was $2.3 billion. They're expecting it to be more than that, and that's before we even have to pay for the plane once it is made. So when he says it's a bad deal, this is a smart deal for him to say that.
Even Boeing, I think saving American taxpayers money, any waste is a good thing. The thing is, Ben, Boeing just said they don't know the price yet because the Pentagon hasn't told them everything that they need. So we're a ways to get to that. But Sally...
But we know that the deal has already gone up in price. We already know from the Government Accountability Office that they're saying that what has been approved and what has been budgeted for is going to go over.
Sally, let me ask you this, because this actually is not a new way of doing business. This Carrier deal or calling out Boeing or calling out Ford. This is just a president-elect being very vocal about it. I mean, if you look back to 2012, right before the election, the Obama administration made a deal with a big oil refinery in Pennsylvania, swing state, that was going to go out of business. They gave them $25 million in tax breaks, and they stayed. And they didn't about it. So isn't this just similar tactics, different way of communicating to the public about it?
I mean, listen, you're not going to find me defending tax giveaways to big business or, military spending for that matter, although I can't help but find it ironic that I'm suddenly in the position of supposedly doing the latter. Look, the issue here is, I will say, Donald Trump is phenomenally good at optics. He is really good at optics. So the fact that, politics in East Asia are collapsing and being reshaped because of his busy thumbs is not a big deal. We're not talking about that. We're going to talk about the fact that he shuffled around taxpayer money, which is what he did. Shuffled around taxpayer money with the help of current Indiana Governor Mike Pence, his running mate, in order to save not even all of the Carrier jobs from going overseas. Again, it's a good thing, and I've said this before, it's a good thing for the people whose jobs are being saved, absolutely. But we do have to look at the way that he's doing that. He's taking an optical win at a greater cost to the American people. Those tax giveaways, that depletion of Indiana state funds is pretty significant, to the point where, by the way, also Sarah Palin called it crony capitalism, and we don't find ourselves agreeing all that often.
Sally, with all due respect here, here's the part where I think we're missing a major point about what Donald Trump has done. Donald Trump has said, look, if there are jobs, and these jobs with Carrier were going to be gone. They'd already built the plant to do this in Mexico, and he was able to save them and keep people employed. How is it that is somehow bad news? How is it somehow bad news?
It's not about being bad news, Ben. It's about
no, but it is. But people are spinning it that way.
Ben, I'm not. It's a question. My question is about strategy. Can you pick winners and losers? Should you? And is this something that is actually going to work? I mean, 1 mile down the road, Nord, another factory is, letting go of 300 people. Trump's tweeting about it. How many companies can you do this for? Does it really need to be more of a focus on an overarching strategy, a total,
I think when your biggest asset is Donald Trump's biggest asset is figuring out how to do business and making these deals. When this is what you're really good at, why not do it in a public way so that you let people know in other businesses that, look, I'm willing to work with you. I'm not going to allow you to take advantage of the American taxpayer, but I'm willing to work with you to keep Americans employed. That is something we should be in favor of. It's not picking winners and losers. It's keeping jobs in America. That's just smart business for every American.
Then there would be a big difference between, for instance, if Donald Trump said, or any president for that matter, we can try for a second to not be partisan about this. There'd be a big difference if Donald Trump said, look, you have government contracts, say Carrier or some other company who's about to send jobs overseas. You've got government contracts. You do that, we're going to cancel those contracts. So in other words, you're a company, you're free to do whatever you are. I believe that's called free market capitalism.
But isn't that picking winners and losers?
Ben, I let you talk, but we, the government, are not going to reward you with our business then. That's very different from saying we're going to incentivize you, Carrier, to not do this thing you were planning to do, to not send this portion, not even all, but portion of your jobs overseas, by giving you tax breaks that we don't give to other businesses. So
all right, guys,
small businesses that aren't moving their employees overseas, they're not getting the same benefit. That's not fair.
I got to leave it there. And the CEO of the parent company of Carrier did do an interview this week where he said, look, I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night, and I'm very well aware that 10% of our profit comes from these government contracts. So there are a lot of legs to this one, certainly. Sally Kohn, Ben Ferguson, thank you guys very much. Still to come.